I'm Logan Webb, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the three-time world champion, San Francisco Giants. With hosts Chad King and Eric Nathanson. This is TortureCast.
It's Friday the 13th of October. Feeling spooky today. And this is episode 291 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. And hey, we're through the first two rounds of the playoffs, so we're here to talk about it. And joining me today, coming back, OG Willie Dills Gregory. How you doing, man?
I am doing all right. I'm excited about the upcoming CSs. We've got the ALCS, the Dusty versus Bochy showdown, and we got the Dodgers out. So playoffs are going pretty damn good as far as a year when the Giants aren't in. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, as Giants fans, it's kind of cool to see Dusty and Boch head up, and Texas is hot right now, right? It's one of those weird things where they had the AL West in their hands. And they couldn't quite win that last game of the season. They lost 1-0 to Seattle. Houston wins to tie them, but they get the tiebreaker because of head-to-head. So Houston gets the crown, gets to skip the first round. Texas said, ain't no thing. They go and take two in Tampa Bay, and then they go and sweep the freaking Orioles, who had the best record in the American League. And so they're 5-0 in the playoffs. They're riding the hot hand. And, Houston, they did have a 3 or 4 whatever day layoff. Didn't affect them. They went in and beat the Twins pretty handily, 3-1. And I was just curious. Everyone is like talking about momentum, and sometimes there's an advantage to not stopping play and not having a rest because of this and that and this and that. And that kind of is bearing true in these playoffs. I mean, look at the top 5 records in Major League Baseball, right? They went 1-13 in the playoff. 1-13. That's insane. Atlanta had that only win, and that was barely a win. I mean, that was an incredible comeback, totally entertaining game. They're down 4-0, come back, Austin Riley hits a home run, and then they had that double play.
The double play
in the
to finish
outfield.
the game.
Yeah. That was actually just sweet. As a baseball fan, that was just sweet. By the way, kids, always back up the throw. Just saying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the one win was like a come from behind, barely kind of got it. And a lot of people were pointing to the fact, well, it's because the top C's get the first round off and they get all stale and, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not going to say there's nothing to that. But then, you look at Houston. They've made 7 straight LCSs here. A lot of those rounds and years they were off, so it doesn't seem to affect them too much. They pointed out the Dodgers. Oh, well, they got swept because they're cold and Arizona was playing and they were hot. It's like, okay, well, look at the All-Star break. All these teams had that off, and the Dodgers went 4-1 out of the All-Star break. So I don't know how much I buy into that.
No, I buy into 0%. Just ask players, do they want a few days off, or do they want to have to continue playing all the way through? Everybody's tired at the end of the regular season. Everybody could use a blow. And it just so happened that these teams that had amazing regular seasons just ended up sucking in the playoffs. I mean, Atlanta, you look at their lineup, historically good offense, and they all went cold at the same time,
Yeah.
There's all-stars and MVP candidates hitting in the 100s, so,
No, and hey, we got Eric Nathanson. He's just joining us. How you doing, Eric?
Howdy, boys. Happy that the Dodgers are dead.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. And if you buy into what a lot of people are saying, teams who have a little bit of rest, 4, 5, 6 days off before they start playing in the playoffs are at a disadvantage. And I was pointing out the fact that Houston's made 7 straight championship series in a row. Doesn't seem to be affecting them. The Dodgers went 4-1 after the All-Star break. I mean, is this just a coincidence thing where all the top seeds went 1-13. We were mentioning that one win was barely a win. Atlanta had to come back and then hold them off with that double play. Is this just an oddity, or do you buy into the whole layoff thing kind of developing rust?
It's a baseball team just failing to do their job. I
Yeah.
mean, the Dodgers didn't hit. Freeman and Betts just absolutely disappeared, and their pitching staff, honestly, was horrible. I mean, with Urias going down and Kershaw melting down and not having, the Dustin Mays and all that of the world, they were totally stuck. So the Dodgers, it's not a layoff thing. It's how you perform. And that's exactly what happened with both the Braves and the Dodgers. I mean, the Orioles is understandable. There's excuses, and it sounds like an excuse, but for each of the three losers, Baltimore is young and they weren't ready, and it was their first time there, so it's understandable. They had to run into Bochy. The Dodgers, they didn't have any pitching, and therefore, since their stars didn't hit, they couldn't get on to the next round. The Braves, same thing. They didn't hit the ball. Austin Riley was the only guy that seemed to deliver in that one game you were talking about. So the lack of actually getting the job done is why these teams are at home, which has nothing to do with them sitting out for 4 or 5 days before the series starts.
Yeah, and to the players' credit, none of them said it was like, oh, well, I had 4 days off, so that's why I sucked. I mean, Betts was 0 for 11, Freeman 1 for 10, Muncy 2 for 11.
Yep.
Their pitching staff ERA was over 7. Kershaw had his, classic meltdown, gave up 5 runs before even retiring
Yeah,
a
you got
single
one
batter. That was
Unbelievable.
insane, absolutely insane. And look, the guy is really nice, and he's a stand-up guy, and he's certainly a Hall of Famer, first ballot. But there's something a little bit of Schadenfreude when you see guys start launching bombs off of him, and he does that slumping shoulders thing on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! I mean, I feel
Yeah, I
for the
was
guy. I
saying
kind
before
of
the
do,
show.
but
Yeah, I was saying before the show, it's like I know he's a Dodger, and I'm supposed to just hate him, but I do feel for the guy because he has had an incredible career, and he's just always going to have this question mark. People are going to be like, "Yeah, Hall of Famer," but you hate you hate to have a great career and then have people always say "but," like always have
yeah.
to bring something up, like and that's his legacy is going to be that. I don't know if he's playing again next season, to be honest. So this might have been it.
Yeah,
We shall see.
his stats actually. I was telling Willie before the show, just because we've seen all the meltdowns before. It's not quite as bad as I thought they were. I mean, he had some success in 2018 and 2020. Overall, he has about a season's worth of starts. He has 194 innings in the postseason, 4.49 ERA. He's 13-11. So we were kind of joking that's like a number 4 starter in the regular season, right? So it's not like he's historically awful, but for Clayton Kershaw, it was a career 2.48 ERA in the regular season.
Yeah. His regular
I mean,
season stats are unbelievable.
yeah, they're absolutely incredible. 210 and 92, 425 games. This is absolutely incredible. He just can't seem to deliver in the postseason, and so he's a little bit. I don't know if it's kryptonite or what, but anyway, Dodgers are out. Giants fans are happy. It's another year that they don't have to worry about the Dodgers winning a World Series during a normal season. They still have a title. Everyone, it still counts. Just pointing that out.
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious though that this just keeps happening year after year after year. As Giants fans, we can be like, look, we won 3 and 5, full seasons, full championships, and the Dodgers just the fact that they keep going 100 miles an hour through the postseason and then falling flat on their face through the regular season and then falling flat on their face. I mean, just to stay with the Dodgers, is Roberts got to go now? Is this the time that the Dodgers finally get rid of him? I thought last year might have been the time. But, I mean, I know it wasn't his fault that the pitching fell apart, and it's not his fault that Mookie and Freddie combined for 1 hit. But, I mean, there's something to be said for this team never being prepared for the postseason.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd actually heard somebody say that it would be really, really like a crazy out there scenario as Roberts gets fired and then the Giants hire him. And I was like, oh God, please don't let that happen. But I do agree. I mean, I think if you're a Dodgers fan, you like something's got to change because we keep spending all the money and then falling short, not just like barely short. Like they're not even getting out of their first round. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's like something's got to give, right?
there's been disagreements between managers and the front office, after successful seasons. But it would be a really rare event for a manager to navigate a team to whatever, like 9 titles in 10 years, like division titles in 10 years,
100
playoffs
wins in the season.
Yeah, like 5 straight years, and then get dismissed because they just can't win in the playoffs. I mean, that would be unprecedented as far as I was concerned, unless it was mutual. And Dave Roberts is like, I'm out of here, guys. But other than that, and the thing is like they bring in another manager. I think you guys and I could manage the Dodgers to 90 wins. I really do think that.
Yeah, probably. There's not a lot of decisions to make, right? They see all these really good players, you put them in the lineup.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like we know how to make video game lineups. It's okay.
Sure.
And if they get to the playoffs again with a new manager and they get bounced, then what? Then who's the problem, right? It's like there's only so much you can do. But sometimes, when the fans get upset enough, which a lot of them are calling for Robert's head. I mean, I don't know. If the Giants were in the same situation, it's like you want to make the playoffs every year. But I admit, if you had like a Bruce Bochy or whatever who just couldn't get through and crack that nut, it'd be tough. You'd think just there needs to be a change of scenery, I guess. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think he'll still be around.
It would be surprising right after a 100-game season and their continued success. But the thing is that the expectations there are sky high, right? Because they have been the team spending the most money year after year after year. And like they already have a big payroll, and then they still go out and get like the biggest name too every year. So, in fact, last year was like the first year where it felt like maybe they lost talent overall when they lost Trey Turner and like these other, but they still were like one of the top spenders. So, I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel bad for Dodgers fans no matter what happens to them. But it is an interesting situation over there. And
by the way,
I'm ready to watch.
Magic. We'll finish on the Dodgers in just a second. But did you see Magic Johnson's excellent analysis and breakdown of why they lost?
No.
Oh, let's hear it.
All right. Here's his tweet. We're all disappointed that our Dodgers didn't hit or pitch well. That's why we lost the series to the Diamondbacks.
Well, yeah.
That's the tweet.
All right.
I mean, it's
spoken
basic.
Like a true basketball player.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but
yeah. Well, we didn't score as many runs as the other team. I think that's why we lost the game.
We gave up too many and didn't score enough. Well, I don't know what else to say, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was getting roasted.
What else
roasted for that?
Though, honestly, their stars just disappeared when it was time to show up.
Yeah, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy,
at that lineup,
though.
like, these are the guys you don't expect to ever disappear, but the playoffs can do that to guys. I mean, Acuna, you don't expect that guy to be hitting 140 or whatever in the playoffs, right? He's such a well-rounded player, and he disappeared too. So it happens, man. It happens.
Well, way back in the day, one Mr. Barry Bonds used to disappear in the playoffs all the time. And do we think that Barry Bonds was any less of a player? I mean, just us personally. Forget the way everybody else thinks. We don't.
No,
we don't. So the same can be said for like a Kershaw, like a Mookie, and a Freddie having it. It happens. If these guys go 1 for 13 in a 3-game series in the middle of May, nobody's talking about it.
No,
but you go 1 for 13 in 3 games in October, it's a story.
Yep.
It's funny though too because the regular season and the playoffs, just the level. So I've had incredible memories of guys' performances in the playoffs, then gone back and looked at their stats and been like, oh, he actually only hit like 210, but he had like 3 home runs that were such big moments. So in my brain, it's like they had an amazing playoffs, but really they didn't, but they had a couple of big moments. But the playoffs runs are such at a premium that you don't need to be hitting 300 to be an effective player, but you can't hit 140. You know what I mean? You can't. If you can at least have your few big moments, but guys don't often stay as nuclear hot, because they're facing the best pitching in the game as well. So, but yeah, these guys absolutely just it was just ridiculous amounts of disappearing.
No, it's crazy, but it's going to be a fun series between Bochy and Dusty. Like I said, Texas is 5-0 in the playoffs. Dusty's they're 5-1. Oh no, sorry, 3-1. This is not the first time, of course, they've met. We all remember what happened in 2012, right? Dusty's Reds were up 2-0 against our
That's
Giants
right.
with Boch, and that was the start of the whole Hunter Pence and coming back with 6
Yeah, that was
consecutive
Reverend Pence.
elimination games, and that was all against Dusty, where it started in Cincinnati. So, I'm sure
And
Dusty's
we had to
got
win
a
all
small chip
three
on
of
his
those
shoulder.
games. All 3 of those games in Cincinnati too, if I remember
Yep.
right?
Yeah, it was constructed
Yeah.
differently then. Exactly. The Giants lost the first 2 at home, and then they flew out to Cincinnati. That's why everyone considered them dead. We considered them dead. We're like, they're not going to win 3 in a row in Cincinnati. And I was like, oh, nope, they did.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure Dusty doesn't have a big chip on his shoulder because he got his World Series last year, so he's happy. He's content. But I'm sure he wants to, he wants to get this one. But, I mean, fan differences aside, I mean, do you guys have a rooting interest in this one? Who you're pulling for?
Oh yeah, I'm Rangers all day, every day. Now that don't tell Ty. Don't tell Ty.
I was going to say, did you really just say that? I mean, are my ears deceiving me? I was
Yeah.
fully expecting to hear something different.
No, I'm Rangers all day. I actually have a friend who's visiting right now. She's in town from New York, but she grew up in northern Texas area, and she's a big Rangers fan. So we've been texting about the Rangers a lot, and so we're gonna go to a bar on Sunday and watch the game. And I'm excited to just go to a bar and watch baseball in the playoffs and have a rooting interest. But it's look, the Astros they've had their time. The Rangers have not, and I really want Bruce Bochy to get this feather in his cap that he can do it not only with the Giants, he can do it with another team, because he never got there with the Padres, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
Well, he got there, but he didn't win it with the Padres. So, now this would be kind of solidifying him as one of the best managers ever. And also, I think the Rangers are just a more likable team. Let's be real. just as the players go, there's a lot of fun stories on that team.
What about you, Eric?
I was gonna say that's what it actually boils down to with me, Willie. Like Bochy's fun, yeah, great. He's our old manager, and we all have feelings about Bochy. But the Rangers are just more likable. It's always more fun to watch these teams come into their own and get into it and excited and watch their reactions in the dugouts. And the Texas Rangers are just fun. It's a little weird to root for a team with Corey Seager on it, but they're fun. It is. He's the one guy. He comes up to the plate, and I don't know about you guys. I still have this gut reaction, man, that motherfucker. And
yeah.
it's hard to get behind him. But just all across the board, they seem likable. Bochy is totally the grandfather who's just letting the kids do their thing and, putting down the stern hand when he needs to and letting off the gas. So it's a lot of fun to watch them. The Astros, it's tired. It's played out. We've seen it. And they are unlikable. They're the villains.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
There's a few guys on the Astros that I think are ultimately likable. I think Jordan is a guy that I like to root for just because he's just fun to watch. But he's also, I don't know. I can't believe people keep throwing him fastballs. That's unbelievable. I'm like, just stop doing that. But then it's like there's still a big contingent of guys from the Astros team that we all love to hate. So that's and me being really good friends with Ty, I forgave them very quickly. Obviously, we've had these conversations a million times, but when you pair them up against this team, this Rangers team, it just changes the equation. So
it does. And by the way, I think Alvarez has a statue of Jobu with some rum in his locker. I'm just saying. That's what he reminds me of.
Freaking unbelievable. He reminds me of Robert Ory, because Robert Ory used to always come up with that huge shot in the playoffs, huge timing 3-pointer. He won a couple games at the buzzer, and Jordan, he just happened. And not only does he come through at those key moments, he hits the ball 450 feet.
Yeah.
I've never seen a guy do it like he does it. He's just so fun to watch. I agree with you, Willie. There are some likable guys, but as a whole, the Rangers are just so much more likable.
Yeah, I have the same feeling as you guys. I mean, first of all, the Rangers have just never won a World Series. So, I mean, you kind of pull for the underdog a lot of the times. Astros literally just won it last year. Dusty finally got his ring. So I'm happy for Dusty. He doesn't need any more at this point because I still have those feelings. And there are still, yes, I know most of the roster was not involved in the cheating scandal. I understand that. But there are still some core guys like Altuve and
Yeah.
Bregman and others. And, the fact that they even won a ring last year and, of course, in 2017 as well, which they did beat the Dodgers, so there's a little bit of consolation there. But it's just, yeah, it still leaves a little bit of bad feeling in my stomach, right? I mean, these guys, they already got a couple of rings out of this. It's like, no more. Dusty got his. Let's see if Bochy can do it with another team. Let's see if these Rangers can win their first one. And I
Yeah.
know, look, I don't hate Farhan. I never hated Gabe. We've talked about this a million times. And it was a shock that he was let go with 3 games left in the season. And even a month left in the season, I don't think I could have figured Gabe getting fired because they were still on a track to make the playoffs. But the reality is, the analytics just hasn't been working 4 out of the 5 years, right? They had the one outlier year, and here we are. We have a classic old school manager, which Willie and I were talking before the podcast, and there's plenty of articles out there about this. So many Giants fans are like, he's old school and he doesn't do analytics. No, he uses analytics. The difference is he knows when to not use them in certain situations. He just doesn't use them 100% of the time. Putting in his catcher, who was 0 for a million, into the third spot against the Rays, hits a grand slam, right? I mean, the Rangers players in their interviews after they clinched the division series are saying, Boch is great. He knows what buttons to push. He knows what buttons to push. That's the same thing we saw in his Giants run. He just knew which buttons to push. He'll ride the guy. The analytics could say, you're hitting 100 against this lefty. Yeah, but you hit 3 hits and 2 home runs last night. I'm going to put you in because I'm riding the hot hand. That's what he knows how to do. He has that baseball instinct. He knows the human element and not just the analytics. But don't get anyone wrong thinking that he doesn't use them at all. That is ridiculous. He uses them every day. It helps with constructing lineups. It helps with defensive placements. All of his coaches help him with that. So, in a way, though, I kind of, if he wins with the Rangers after leaving the Giants, it's a little bit of a, how about a half middle finger to the Giants? Not that Bochy is thinking that, but it's a little bit of like, hey, look what I can do over here too. You wanted me out of San Francisco. Look what I'm doing in Texas. But anyway,
He also, though, if you think about it, like, there's no way that Bruce Bochy just, through gut instinct, figured out to ride a different top starter each time we won the World Series, have a different closer each time we won the World Series.
no.
Like, he was going off of what the stats were telling him, which is this year, this is the guy, And also the Giants recently, we haven't signed a Cody Ross towards the end of the season, or Marco Scudero, or any of these things. So it's like the Rangers, they have the talent, man, and Bruce Bochy knows how to take the talent and make the most of it. That's just one thing he's always been good at. And I think, honestly, if the Giants could get the talent going, let's be real, I think Kapler shows he can do a lot with a little. He could have done a lot with a lot too. So I don't know, like I love Bochy as a manager. I think more than the manager. The manager stuff aside, the players on the field are going to decide this one.
Well, of
And
course.
I think the Rangers also have a team that can match up with the Astros, as scary as the Astros are.
You brought up a good point about Kapler and the managing of superstars. It really just goes to show the manager has an influence, but you're right. The players are the ones deciding this. And, like in the Giants case, Kapler was dealt a crappy deck of cards, and he just had to deal with what it was he had. I don't know if you listened to our last episode. I can't blame Kapler. Just knew he was going to be the fall guy. You've heard me talking about this for months, that I think he was going to be the fall guy. And as soon as they collapsed, it made sense. And it just goes to show you, though, that certain managers, like a Bochy, the edge that they have, it may only be a slight 5% edge over the others, but that 5% is what's milking the little bit out of the players that he needs.
Sure.
Like you said, riding the hot hand, going with the guy that just looks, like he's making better contact at that moment, and things like that.
Yeah,
you have a steady hand, it kind of guides you better into that place.
That's true. But you gotta feel for Kapler, who has, this this Austin Slater guy is like an amazing pinch hitter, and then halfway through the year he just forgets how to do that all of a sudden. Like that was the kind of thing that I think happened to the Giants in the second half of the year. Is guys who were performing suddenly just stopped, and then of course guys got injured too. Like we thought we were going to have some guys who were going to be playing the entire season, and it turned out we basically had a AAA lineup plus a couple of established big leaguers, and we also had 3 starters at the most ever throughout the entire year at any given time. So
well, we could have had more had Sean Manaea actually been allowed to start games instead
Yeah,
of
true.
being yanked from the rotation after one start.
Yeah.
So that goes up the whole list. This is we're going to get into the managerial discussion at some point in this offseason because we're going to talk about it now a little bit with candidates and stuff. But like, is it I wonder how important it's going to be to get the kind of guy that's different from Kapler because I don't know. Carrot Crowley's been talking about it. I totally agree. The Giants need somebody who's going to be willing to dissent against Farhan, who's going to push back a little bit and say, like, I get what you're saying here, but this is what I see. And it felt like Kapler was a yes man, which probably ultimately is what led to his demise.
Yeah, we probably also need a manager who's willing to tell the guys that they're not allowed to play Filipino card games after losses.
Oh, man.
So if you want to play Pusoy tonight, you better win this game. And if you do, then yeah.
Well,
Pusoy
to be
for
fair,
everybody.
players should police that themselves. The problem is you got the guy, Jock Peterson, who should be policing it right in the middle of it. So it kind of shows where team leadership was this last year.
Yeah, that whole story came out. We were talking about it last time that I covered that Sunday night game against the Braves, which they did win. And I was in the locker room, and there was Luis Matos and Jock Peterson and 2 others playing that game, and I've never seen a more lively bunch in the clubhouse. They were yelling and screaming and cursing and yelling in Spanish, and it was like it was a game. At the time, I didn't think anything of it, right? They won, so I thought, oh, they're celebrating, they're blowing off some steam.
Sure.
I didn't realize till that story came out that it was an everyday occurrence, and win or lose, when they lost, they played reggae music, and that was a very common occurrence. And they just seemed to be caring more about the poker game than the actual, what went wrong tonight? Hey, let's talk about this. Hey, let's look at the scouting report. It was more just like, whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, Gabe Kapler was definitely a hands-off kind of guy, which can work in a lot of cases. But when a ship's sinking and you're not taking the wheel and telling the guys how to rally, and you're just like, you guys figure it out yourself, that's where some of the veterans kind of needed to step in, but also where some of the veterans were like, yeah, we needed that leadership. We just didn't have it.
Yeah, it's I think in a way some of the guys who were the veterans just had other things on their mind.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Yep.
Yeah. Like Crawford, you would think would have like stepped in there and been like, hey guys, whatever. But also he's thinking, I'm kind of done. I'm just gonna have fun. We saw Crawford in the dugout a lot, smiling, just kind of having a blast, like enjoying his last few moments hanging out in the major league dugout. So I think a lot of guys were just kind of resigned to whatever the fate may have been. I'm sure they would have loved to win and go to the playoffs, but I also, let's be real. When we came into this season, we did not think that we realistically had a chance, right? It was supposed to be Dodgers and Padres all the way. Diamondbacks kind of spoiled that whole thing, but the Giants came in with somewhat low expectations into the season. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, we all overshot their win total. I was the lowest at 80. I think it was 83 or 84. You guys had like mid 80s, but it was all like as close to a playoff spot, but probably not. It's going to be Dodgers and Padres, and they ended up even getting under Vegas. Vegas was 81.5. But the reality was Arizona had 84. And so the Giants had 79. They finished 5 games behind them. And so that's 1 win a month. It's less than 1 win a month. And, if they played a little bit better against Arizona, who knows what would have happened.
That's technically one outfielder with a 5 WAR.
There you go.
Right. You mean somebody like a Corbin Carroll?
Oh God,
I
Corbin
don't know,
Carroll.
like one, yeah.
I'm just saying, like when the Giants played the Diamondbacks in September, it was such a contrast of where one team that is on the rise and doing it right is going, and then the Giants. I've watched the Diamondbacks a lot this season. Obviously, I live in Arizona. I get their games locally. And I've kind of fallen for this team because they're athletic. They're young. They move the line along. They pull for each other a lot better. They execute in such a way that I'm jealous of at this point. And it makes them so fun to watch. It really does. I'm glad they were the team that emerged and San Diego had the problems. But, like, I can't believe I'm saying this. I want the Giants to be more like the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
true.
No, I agree. I've been saying it for a long time that I want a team filled with speedsters, good defense, and if somebody has a good power year, fine. But I would like to see gap-to-gap hitting and speed on the bases.
Well, we're going to try to get more athletic this offseason, and we're going to improve the defense. So look for us to get more athletic. Forget that
we said that 3 years in a row. God.
And stop stealing bases, and we have guys that can't run, But, yeah, we're going to get more athletic.
Ronald Acuna stole more bases than the entire Giants roster. Team.
Yeah, I know. But he also stole a lot of bases, so.
Yeah, but 70
stole a lot of bases.
People 70 over 162. I mean, for a team, come on, man. That's like a little bit less than 1 out of 3. Whatever. Yeah, whatever. Anyway,
but it's something tangible we can point to. That's really what it ends up being. Is when we talk about where the Giants have failed, it just gives us something tangible to look at and be like, well, look, you said you're going to improve this, and that didn't improve.
We also we lost Haniger for a long time, and he was our biggest offseason acquisition.
I know.
So, Conforto didn't really play, but we thought he was going to. And then all of a sudden we're relying on Casey Schmidt to carry a lineup. Like what? No, that's not going to be a thing. It's whatever.
But don't worry, all these guys are arbitration eligible, and they're probably just going to say, hey, let's bring them all back because they're cheap.
Yeah. They're cheap, baby.
Oh, my God. Sorry, I'm totally sidetracked.
No, this is the power of his 2-year option contracts, because if they have a really good year, like a Rodon, thank God they didn't get him, they can opt out. Of course, it worked out for Kevin Gausman. And yet, there's guys like this year, it could be a Manaea and a Haniger and others who are like, I'm not going to get as much money on the open market because I sucked this year. So I'm going to take that guaranteed money with San Francisco. And then Farhan's like, well, it was injuries and whatever. So still diamond in the rough kind of possibility here, for the next year. So that's the way he constructs these things. And unfortunately, again, we're beating a dead horse, but they were one of only 4 teams to have a lower attendance this year than last year, and which is really bad. And there's just no roster continuity. So who is now with Crawford potentially not with the Giants anymore? Whose jersey are you buying? What 12-year-old wants? Like my son, he got his own jersey this past year. Same with my daughter. They were like, yeah, well, we love Buster Posey, but he's retired and Crawford's gonna be. So they just got their own name and their own favorite number on the back of their jerseys. They didn't have a player to go for. It's
I
just
think Patrick Bailey's a safe one. Logan Webb is safe. But then after that,
I would have Logan Webb.
Go get a Marco Luciano jersey. That'll do it.
Yeah, Tyro Estrada, you can go with that. But yeah, and a guy like Wilmer, basically our best player for the last 3 years. You don't know how long that guy's going to be around, or even what position he's going to play ever. So
he keeps secretly being the stud on this team. I know. It's amazing. Yeah. It's like he still comes into the year being platoon guy, then he ends up leading the team in everything at the end of the year.
Everything. Yeah.
He's their offensive MVP the last couple of years. It's really sad. It's really sad. That's not a knock on Wilmer, by the way. Not at all. Not a knock on him. He's a fantastic player. It's just he should not be the leader on this team.
He's a building block and not a mainstay. You know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, let's talk about Arizona, because that is a more exciting team, right?
Yeah, Corbin Carroll, my God. The pitching staff, everything. I mean, they're 5-0 in the playoffs too, just like Texas. They are just taking this postseason by storm. I mean, that first game against, Kershaw, but I mean, they were up 9-0 in like the 3rd inning. You're like, what is going on here? And they just did not let off the gas. Yeah,
that was just a trouncing.
Yeah, then they finish off Lance Lynn with 4 solo shots in 1 inning. Lance Lynn looked like He saw a ghost. He was just like, he was stunned, man.
That
That
was
was just
absolutely fantastic. I was at a bowling alley during that inning. Just I was eating some pizza at the bowling alley, and literally that inning, just okay, one homer, yay, another homer, hey, another homer, oh my god, and then another homer, holy shit, the D-backs are gonna do this. It was unbelievable to watch like that. People realize, wait a second, these D-backs are good. Did you guys
Yeah.
know Torey Luvello is the all-time winningest manager in Diamondbacks history?
Oh wow,
already.
I
Wow.
feel like he's been there. Yeah, but he's been there since 17.
that's
Believe it or
crazy.
not, he's been there like 6 years already, and nobody really noticed.
Yeah.
But
I feel
what's his
like,
overall record? It has to still be a losing record, right?
oh yeah, I'm sure it is. But then again, so is
Yeah,
Bochy's. So
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
True.
No,
But
it's,
I
it's
mean,
just it's,
they're an exciting team, but they're also about to play the Phillies, who outside of them have been the most other exciting team, I would say. Um, Big moment after big moment for the Phillies. So this one, I'm definitely rooting for the Diamondbacks, but both of these teams have to believe that they're like teams of destiny right now. Do you know what I mean? Like they're both coming in feeling very good about their chances.
Yeah, I think you're right. Philly, carrying over that momentum they had last year, where they also dethroned the Braves, and they put up a good fight against the Astros. They seem like the team of destiny, and you're right. They just keep having these big moments that they'd come through, whether it's Harper hitting a couple of bombs or you know uh, Castellanos doing what he did last night, things of that nature. And Arizona, I mean, they're not having any comebacks or anything. They're just trouncing teams. So this is going to be interesting to see if the more athletic team versus you got the other team that has Kyle Schwarber on it, right, hitting leadoff. How the two styles are they're really they contrast each other big time. And I can see obviously either team winning. My God, the top 5 seeds all went 1-13, so it shows you this is baseball, right? So I don't know who's going to win this one, but I am slightly pulling for Arizona, even though they're an interdivision opponent. It's just, it's the underdog, whatever. I don't want them to win the World Series. I don't, but, kind of tired of the Phillies right now.
I don't know, D-backs, Phillies. I'm with you. I don't really have a rooting. I mean, because they're both fun. That
Yeah.
Philly crowd, no crowd. There's no crowd in these playoffs as good as that Philly crowd.
No, they are
I know
really
Giants
good.
fans hate. I know Giants fans hate Philly, but part of it is because Philly's crowd is so good. Do you remember how they used to catcall Timmy, and they used to say all sorts of things to Timmy, and during especially the 2010 playoffs? I mean, that's fun. When you're part of that tribe, it's fun.
Yeah.
So I really find the Phillies to be like, it's just so much fun to watch. I like Harper. I've liked Harper his entire career. The guy is just unbelievable. And so it'd be nice to see him get his ring. I mean, he left Washington and they won a ring, so he still hasn't gotten his shot at it, even aside from last year. So I kind of want to see them do it, but there's no looking at these two series, guys, we are looking at two very good matchups for a playoffs that have stunk. They have stunk. Every game is almost a blowout, or who's going to win within the first 3 innings of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you guys literally talked about the one good game of the playoffs, that Braves Phillies game where Austin Riley homered. That's it. There's no other the drama, the excitement, because it's been just teams running over other teams. So I'm really hoping we get some good series. I'm really hoping this plays out the way it should, because we haven't had much good baseball yet. We've had exciting at times, but we really haven't had the theater that we want, the drama that we want. No series has gone past. No series has gone the distance. Only one series last round went 4.
Yeah.
No series in the wild card round went 3. It's kind of ridiculous how bad these playoffs have been if you look at it from the outside. So
No,
I'm
it's
really
been
hoping
bad
these
as
4
far
teams.
as competition and how short these series are. I also would wager a guess that the advertisers and the guys working for MLB doing the TV, and same with the networks who are covering these games, are like, God damn it, Arizona versus Philly. Like, we could have had LA and Atlanta just talking about ratings, right? And things of that nature.
Yep.
This probably isn't the dream matchup for the advertisers and the TV stations, but I just hope the championship series do have a little more drama. I mean, like aside from that one game, they have been pretty clear cut, open close, business as usual kind of playoffs. Shocking on the seeding and who's been bumped, but yeah, there hasn't been too much excitement. So I'm looking for some excitement between, two contrasting styles in the National League, and then of course the two big managers in the American League. So it's gonna be fun, man. So I want to talk about the Giants' leading candidate real quick, but before we do that, because obviously Eric, you're our picks were so shitty, just like most of the country anyway, because of the top five doing so poorly. Let's go ahead and do our picks now. Reset in the LCS. I'll go first. Gonna go with Texas and Arizona, with Texas taking it. What about you, Eric?
Well, I'll go Texas Philly with Philly taking it.
Mm-hmm.
Philly
Willie.
gets their revenge on Bruce Bochy. I think Willie had to. I think Willie had to dip.
Got it.
I think Philly gets their revenge on Bruce Bochy. I mean, I want to root for Bochy's sake, but like we said, the team itself is just fun. But any pick I'm making here is totally just a shot in the dark because I
Dude,
think
it's like
any combination, any combination is gonna be good. Just not Houston. Anybody but Houston. That's really the rallying cry for America. Anybody but Houston. What they've done is impressive. But I'm tired of them. It's just like getting tired of the Yankees. It's like getting tired of the Dodgers, getting tired of the Braves in the 90s, but the Braves now. It's just that way with Houston. It's got nothing to do with all the crap from before. It's just we've seen enough. You won it all last year. Good for you. Now it's time for somebody else. So I'm with you. I'll pick Texas in the AL, but I'll take Philly in the NL, and I'll take Philly to win it all.
All right. Well, one of us will be right in the National League, so that means Texas will lose because we both picked them.
Absolutely. Houston in 4.
And because I chose Texas and you chose Philly, then it has to be Houston or Arizona that wins it all.
Oh, probably be Arizona. Yeah, the funny thing is we are longtime Giants fans, and Bruce Bochy went to the playoffs many, many years with our teams. How many sweeps did the Giants have under Bruce Bochy in the playoffs?
Okay, well, obviously you have Detroit, which is one
That's
there. And yeah, I'm trying everything else. Yeah. I mean, 2012 they had to come back every single one. 2010 Rangers was 4-1. The Phillies took a game. The Reds were up 2-0.
5.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. No, Reds were up. Cardinals were up 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. That's it.
And then it was 3-1 against the Nats in 14, and then it was another 7 games against the Cardinals in 14, and then another 7 games against the Royals in 14. Oh, not 7 in 14. It was 5 in 14. But still, It's just fascinating to me that we only had one sweep with Bruce Bochy as the manager, and it happened to be the 2012 World Series. And here he is managing the Rangers, and he swept 2 series already. Now, I have a hard time calling winning 2 out of 3 a sweep.
Two to me is not a sweep. It's like it's weird.
It's a light dusting maybe, but he lightly dusted the first round and then swept the second round, and we never got to see it. So it's kind of cool that Bochy's doing that. You know what I mean? It's just funny that we never really got that except for the Detroit year, and here Texas feels invincible because they haven't lost a game yet. So it's kind of good for Bochy that it's a little easier for him this time until this round, because there's no way anybody's sweeping this round. I don't think anybody on either side is going to sweep this round. It's just not going to happen. Texas has too much offense. Philly has too much offense. Arizona's got great pitching. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see these games again. I don't mind when the Giants aren't in the playoffs because then we could just focus on the fun matchups. So hopefully we got those again.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm just looking for some good baseball, like you said. I mean, most of the series have been fairly.
Right.
I mean, I'm happy with some of the results of them, but it's just been no drama at all. So, I'm fine with Arizona sweeping the Dodgers, but some of these other series, I would have liked to have seen some competition.
I came on the show talking about, I'm happy because the Dodgers are dead and yada, yada, yada. But honestly, had the Dodgers played a 5-game series full of drama and taken the series, I probably would have enjoyed that better. I'm kind of at the age where, it's nice when the Dodgers lose, but truthfully, it doesn't affect my team. All it affects is the fans of the other team. So I don't really care if they go down. And you know me, I like to see the teams they are facing do well, and that's why I want to see the Diamondbacks win it, because then it puts the Giants in a tough spot. Oh crap! Now we got to catch them. Now we got to catch them, and I love that opportunity. So I mean, the Schadenfreude is fun, but like at this point, just give us good baseball.
Yeah, I mean, just anyone but the Dodgers. Like, yeah, if they'd made it to the World Series, as long as they don't win it, I'm cool with it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but in a very objective point of view, I do kind of feel sorry for Dodger fans. I don't, but
Yeah.
that's got to be really, really frustrating. I mean, it's in no way a comparison to the 49ers because the 49ers have not been as dominant as the Dodgers in the regular season. But I do feel similarly in the sense that the Niners have had like this 5-year window of having a really good team, and they just haven't been able to climb the mountain. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I feel like this year is probably their most dominant team of all time. Well, I mean, not all time, but over the last, 10 years. And I feel like something's going to happen. Now, like, they're going to make the playoffs, I think, clearly. But I just feel like, they'll just, they'll run into a buzzsaw. Something, 3 guys will get hurt, and it'll just be it, But it's kind of like the Dodgers, man. Just by sheer luck, they should have run into more than one World Series title. Just sheer luck, just the numbers, right? Just if like every single series you have a 50% chance of winning for 10 years through all those playoffs, just math says you should have won at least 2 or 3 World Series. It's crazy. Like if it was coin flips every round, Oh, it's just bizarre. By the way, yeah, Willie had to go ahead and take a phone call, but he did text his picks in. He's going Texas and Arizona with Texas winning it all. So we all have slightly different picks. That's interesting. All right. I like it, though.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. All right. So before we wrap up here, there was a report that the Giants have a leading internal candidate within the organization, and it's third base coach Mark Hallberg. It doesn't mean he's going to be the manager. They still got to interview other guys. Eric, I don't know enough about the guy. I know he's a good baseball mind and all that. I don't know if he's a yes man, if he's an old school guy, if he's going to think differently, if he were to be the manager. And who from the outside, which of course they have to potentially wait for some of the postseason to end because you can't talk to guys who are active in the postseason. I wonder who that external list is going to be and how it would compare to a Mark Hallberg. Or is he just like, yeah, he's the internal candidate, but we're not really considering him?
Well, oh my God, this one just drives me nuts. I don't care who the leading candidate is off of the current coaching staff, because if the manager comes from the current coaching staff, I may not tune into Giants baseball next year. You cannot feed me all these lines of we're going to do different, we're going to change some things, and yada, 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 and then hire off the same staff.
I know.
It just can't happen. We need somebody. There's been talk. I've heard DeRosa's name mentioned as a possible candidate. What the problem is Farhan has a year left on his deal. And so what manager wants to come in and know that he only has this year? It's kind of like what they did with Dusty in Houston, actually. They brought Dusty in and we're like, okay, we need somebody to clean up for a year. They didn't expect to go out and win the World Series. They really, really didn't. So, the Giants need that kind of a scenario to play out, not World Series notwithstanding. But it makes it a tough gig for somebody. So Farhan's got to find somebody that's willing to roll with the punches in that respect. So, yes, good for Mark Hallberg for getting his interview. Good for Kai Correa if he got an interview. It gives them more. But if this manager comes off this staff, I swear, Chad, I might be boycotting next season. It's just the problems with the Giants go from management on down, from ownership on down. Let's be honest, from ownership on down. And so it's tough to fill in the little holes here without talking about stripping down the whole thing. And we're not at that point. So yes, they're going to talk to internal candidates. Yes, they're going to, and I'm with you. I don't know shit about Mark Hallberg. I don't even know what the guy's voice sounds like, but do I want him as the manager of the Giants? No, I don't. Give me somebody from the outside. Give me somebody with a little fire. Give me somebody that's actually going to, command a clubhouse. The job is manager. The whole point is to manage people. So get somebody who's good at that. So that's where I am on that. If they pull the same crap and pull somebody out of the organization, I mean, it's just it's just a sign that we're a clown organization at this point.
Well, I pulled up his Wikipedia here and his baseball reference, but Wikipedia has enough here. He did go to the University of Illinois Chicago for 2 years, where he played baseball. Then
wow.
then he transferred to Florida State for his junior year, and he hit 360 while playing shortstop, and he was the all-conference first team for the ACC. Pretty good. The Diamondbacks selected him in the 9th round in 2007, the 283rd overall selection, and he basically played 221 games at second base, 168 at shortstop, 121 at third, in 5 minor league seasons, which he did get as high as AAA. He batted 277, retiring after a season in which he had a nagging, painful throwing arm injury in which he played through. So he retired as a player in April 2012, so he never played in the pros. Because I had never heard of him in the pro. You know what I mean? Like, we've all heard of Major League Baseball players, unless they had a cup of coffee. That's, you and I know baseball well enough to go, oh, I remember that guy, whatever. Like, the Braves hitting coach is Kevin Seitzer. By the way, I always remember Kevin Seitz. Yeah. And he's been their hitting coach for 9 years, dude. 9 years. And they were flashing him on the TV, and I'm like, that's not Kevin Seitzer. That's a very fat old white man. Like, I remember Kevin Seitzer was this little scrawny short second baseman for the Kansas City Royals when I was growing up. So I quickly had to Google him, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's who Kevin Seitzer was, and that's who he is now. He's like 260-pound chubby white guy. And I'm like, oh, dude, like, it's just weird when guys that you followed as a kid have just turned into what they are now. It's just, it's weird. So yeah, he never played in the pros. Of course, he coached high school from 2012 to 2014. Then he was a baseball coach from 2014 to 2017 in the Cape Cod League. Then he was a coach for the Volcanoes in the Giants system in 2018 and was their manager in 2019. And then he was hired as an assistant coach for the Giants in 2020 and then named their third base coach following the 2021 season. So obviously he's been their third base coach for the last 2 years. Yeah, I don't know. He seems like could be a yes person. Seems like he could just be a retread of Gabe Kapler. Seems like I don't know enough. I'm making assumptions, but I'm falling in line with your fears here, Eric. They need to change. They need to have a different voice. Someone who can have intelligent discussions with Farhan, but also disagree and go his own path. And so, maybe they need someone from the outside in order to do that. And I don't know how Farhan, he's got a challenge right now. He's got a challenge of like, if I got a yes man and we have another losing season, my job is certainly on the line. Like, I can't see him lasting after another losing season. I can't. And number two, roll the dice. Hire someone who is going to challenge me. Hire someone who has a little bit more of that old school vibe. Will they want to come here number one under Farhan? Maybe not. And number two, is Farhan going to lay down his ego to allow differences of opinion? He says he does. We don't know if he really does. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I think Eric was disconnected. All right, well, sorry for the technical problems right now. We were wrapping up anyway. You heard his opinions there. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up episode 291 of the tour. Oh, there he is. He's coming back in. He's back in.
I had no idea what happened there.
I was talking to no one, Eric.
Well, so yeah, that's the thing is I thought that you were the one who went down because
that was hilarious.
Suddenly went quiet.
I quickly summed up saying I don't think Farhan's job can last more than one more losing season. And so for his own personal challenge, it is, do I get someone who's another yes man who might repeat the same mistakes as Gabe did? Or do I challenge myself, lay down my ego, and get someone who is going to challenge me with some different styles from day to day? And there's two problems with that. Number one, is a person like that willing to come and work under Farhan? Because maybe some guys are like, heck no, I'm not working for that guy. And then number two, Farhan says he listens to different opinions, but maybe that's just what he's saying. But internally, he's the boss. and he's not going to allow other people to run this team in a different way. So, but he's also got to recognize the fact that this hasn't worked out for 4 out of his 5 years here in San Francisco. The Giants have had, basically the same record as when he showed up, Bruce Bochy's last year. So he's also got to perform, man. I mean, he's not going to be around that much longer. I don't think ownership can allow Farhan to be the GM if he has another losing season.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment that, he's probably got to take a risk if he wants to keep his job. If he gets another yes man in there, he's gone. It's just going to happen. He's gone. There's no way that the Giants are going to put it together. And maybe Farhan himself needs to adjust and stop living on the margins so much and actually try to put together something solidly. So, but you're right. As a manager, it's a tough situation to come into. This is not an attractive job. This is a very weird situation to be in as a Giants fan, man. We're not used to seeing this with our team. So it's tough to really know. I mean, Cap being the first guy fired in years and years and years, it made this so different. So Farhan, I'm with you though. He has to get somebody that's gonna challenge him. That's the only way he's gonna keep this job.
No, it's going to be a very interesting offseason to say the least. But hopefully they get that manager installed sometime in early November. He has already said he needs to have one in because they need to have a manager to attract the free agents. And let's see if the Giants can even attract anyone this year. It's not the strongest free agent class either, aside from a Shohei,
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, though, is these free agents they're not going to look and be like, well,
Mark
I can't
Hallberg.
stand Farhan. Right, but Mark Hallberg's the manager, so I can't wait to go play for him. That's just not going to happen. People are going to still stay away because of Farhan. It's just this whole. I think we're going to be back here, Chad. Honestly, this is my prediction today. We are going to be back here a year from now talking about Farhan being out as the Giants president and what direction do they go from here. That is my prediction right now for a year from now because I don't see this getting any better. I think it's just going to be the same cluster it's been. So does it really matter who the managerial candidates are at this point? Possibly not, but we're going to have to see who it is. I was starting to say Max Amali's kid seems to be in the mix, Will Venable. So, there's some ideas, but these guys don't want to take their first managing gig knowing they can get fired in a year. So you do need to go get somebody. I mean, Buck Showalter, is he the answer? I don't know. I can't see him and Farhan getting along. So
no, me neither.
It's just there's a lot of balls in the air with this. Farhan has to adjust a little bit himself, or he'll be gone. So, like I said, I'm making the prediction right here, right now, that a year from now we're going to be talking about Farhan out.
I agree. I think aside from, they're not going to get Shohei Ohtani or some major fish. I think the roster is going to be very similar, different pieces, but very similar complexion to the way it was this year. And I think the Giants are no better than a 500 team. And I think you're right. I think there's a much greater than 50% chance that Farhan's going to be gone by the end of next year. And that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to another mediocre year for the Giants. And now Farhan's gone. So that was 6 years wasted,
Right.
For one
not
playoff
any younger,
appearance.
Man.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. They keep touting the young kids and they keep touting the draft picks. And I know there's flashes of brilliance here and there. And I get it. But until we actually see production on the field, like regular production from these guys, we need to have that next crop of Posey and Bumgarner and Crawford and Lincecum, right? That's what we need right now. And there's some promise, but it needs to actually materialize within the next year or two. Otherwise, Farhan's regime is going to be an abject failure, which is surprising because his track record has been so good, right? So anyway, it's frustrating, but I do think there's a good chance of it happening next year. That's a depressing thought, though. God damn it. Don't mean to be closing
talk is cheap, though, man. I'm from Missouri at this point. Show me something.
Show me. Show me Shohei. Let's do it.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, actually, what I think Farhan needs to do, and we'll get into this more after the playoffs, is I think trades is the route. I think they're going to have to put together some trades, get rid of some of that young talent. I don't know if it's talent, that might not be the right word, but get rid of some of those young kids for some tangible major league talent and go from there. And if we don't see that kind of action this offseason, then we'll have a good indication of what.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Well, it's going to be an interesting offseason. And as we wrap up 291 here. We're going to be back probably right before the World Series. We'll let the championship series play out, and then we'll talk a little World Series, and then we'll really get into the hot stove for the year. And we also have some projects and ideas that we think that Giants fans are going to enjoy in the offseason. Some, production quality kind of podcasts looking back into the history of the Giants and players and things of that nature. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. It's going to allow us to kind of delve into the history of the Giants a little bit more and bring some of that content to you. So look for that coming in the off season. So Eric, you got anything else going on right now?
No, I'm looking forward. We are going to be putting out more content this off season than in past years. And I really like the ideas that we have in the hopper. So look forward to some new stuff from us this winter.
Yeah, it's going to be good, man. All right, well, until then, for Eric, this is Chad. And, of course, you heard from Willie earlier. He had to jump off on a phone call. We'll see ya a little less than 2 weeks from now. Until then, have a great week. Go Rangers. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.